Hello dears. In today's class we'll be discussing the major concept or next topic, active voice and passive voice. So there are two voices in English grammar. One is active voice and the other one is passive voice. So let's see what active voice is. This is a very simple concept. You'll just have to know the structure of the sentences to know how active voice works and passive voice works. So the first one is active voice. In active voice, the subject is the one who performs the action, that is the doer or the agent. Okay, so the subject of the sentence is the one who performs the action, and or we could say the subject is the one doing the action. And passive voice, we'll see examples for this in the later slides. And for passive voice, the subject receives the action, that is the receiver, or the object is the main part, or the object of the sentence becomes the subject, that is the subject receives the action or he is a receiver of the action, and the object in active voice becomes the subject in passive voice. So this is what we said while we select or while we choose an active form of the sentence, active voice of the sentence, the subject in the active voice, it becomes the object in passive voice, and in the other way around also, the object in active voice becomes the subject in passive voice. For that also we'll see examples and see the change of verb also. This is a very important change you'll have to know. The verb in active voice is a base form, or the verb in passive voice, it changes to the past participle form, that is a V3 form of the verb will be used in passive voice. So see some examples for active voice. Ram wrote the novel. Okay, so as we know here the subject, about whom are we speaking? About Ram. Okay, so Ram is the subject and wrote is the verb of the sentence. Ram is the subject, he writes or he wrote the novel. Okay, so the novel is the object. So Ram is the subject, wrote is a verb, and the novel is the object. Subject, verb, and the object. So the verb wrote is in active voice. This is the active form of the sentence. Subject comes first, then the verb and the object. So Ram is the subject, the doer of the action. So if we turn the same sentence, Ram wrote the novel, into passive voice. See, this is how it turns. So passive voice, the novel was written by Ram. See the Ram in the other form. In active voice, we saw that Ram is the first one. That is the subject of the sentence that turns into the object in passive voice. So Ram becomes the object. That is the subject becomes the object. And in the sentence earlier, we saw the novel was the object which turns to the subject in passive voice. So the novel was written by Ram. There is a change in the tense form also. The auxiliary verbs used are changing in each pattern according to the tenses used. So we'll have to have the basic idea first, that is the subject and object, it interchanges while turning a sentence from active voice to passive voice. So in this sentence, as we said earlier, the V3 form of the verb will be used. That is a past participle form. Written is a past participle and was is the auxiliary verb used here. We use was because the sentence is in past tense. We'll learn that later. So three major things you have learned up until now, that is the subject becomes the object and the object becomes the subject, and then the verb is the V3 form of the verb, or the past participle form of the verb is used. And now let's learn some rules for changing the voice. That is it's a basic things. Transitive and intransitive verbs. So what is a transitive and intransitive verb? You'll have to know that. Only transitive verbs can be changed to passive voice. So what are intransitive verbs? Intransitive verbs are verbs which do not require an object. For example, see the sentence, he laughs. He is the subject, laughs is the verb. Okay, so later it doesn't require an object in this. He laughs. So later part of the sentence, we do not say what laugh or where laugh or anything. So he laughs, it's complete. So this laugh, this verb doesn't require an object. Okay, so this is called an intransitive verb. For this, we cannot form a passive voice of the sentence. Okay, so intransitive verbs cannot be changed into passive voice. You'll have to remember that. And only transitive verbs can be changed to passive voice. See the sentence: she makes coffee. So she makes what? There is an answer to that question, and so this is a transitive verb. So she makes coffee. This is an active form of the sentence and active voice. And while we change into passive voice, it turns out like this: the object coffee becomes a subject. That is, coffee comes to the first part of the sentence, coffee, and this sentence is in the simple present form, makes. So in the simple present form, so is used. We learn that later. Coffee is made. See, make is a verb and the V3 form is made. So coffee is made by she. She becomes her. Okay. So coffee is made by her as a passive form of the sentence. I hope it's clear. Transitive and intransitive verb. So only transitive verbs can be changed to passive voice. And now the object and subject transformation. We already said this. That is, the object in active voice becomes subject in passive voice, and also vice versa. That is, the subject in active voice becomes object in passive voice, often with by. See, in this sentence we have added by her. Okay, so along with the subject that turns into the object, by is also used in most cases. Okay, the other case we'll discuss it now. That is verb transformation. There is a main verb changes to past participle. This also we discussed it earlier, and the appropriate form of to be is used as an auxiliary verb. That is the use of auxiliary verb. We'll learn that later, along with like while we discuss tenses, like is the auxiliary verb used. So why is used there? We'll learn that while we learn about tenses. Okay. And the next one is handling two objects. So see, if a sentence has two objects, then what will we do? So this is the main concern. And transitive verbs with two objects. Okay, so leave it while transitive verbs occur in a sentence, we could transform it into a passive voice of the sentence. And if it has two objects, then what will we do? Which object will we choose? So this is a concern. And choose one as a subject in passive voice, the other remains unchanged, and it's called a retained object. So if two objects are there in a sentence, we'll choose one. Okay, you can choose either one of those, and then the other object, it remains unchanged, and the unchanged object is called the retained object. For example, see the sentence: he will teach me English. So he is the subject, will teach is the verb used, and me is the object. English is also another object. So how will we turn it into a passive form of the sentence? Say we'll choose English here. So English will be taught to me by him. This me here, it is not changed. So the retained object is me. Okay. I hope it's clear. And then the omission of the agent, that is in passive constructions. In as we said earlier, in most cases we exactly use the subject given in as the object, but in certain cases it is not necessary to use the subject as an object. See, we'll see some examples for that. That is, in passive constructions, the agent or doer, that is a subject, can be omitted if not essential. If it's not that necessary or essential to be used in the sentence, it can be omitted. It need not be used. If included, introduce with by. If it is used, if the agent or subject is used, we will have to use it along with by. So say this example: people speak English all over the world. So in this sentence, people, we are talking about people. So people is the subject of the sentence. Speak English. Okay, speak is a verb. There is an action done. English is a object. Okay, people speak English all over the world. This is the active form of the sentence. See how we turned it to the passive form. English, we turned or we changed the object into the first place, that is the subject. English is spoken. Speak as a V1 form of the verb. That is the first form, base form of the verb. It changes into V3 form. That is a past participle form, spoken. Speak, spoke, and spoken. Spoken is the V3 form. So English is spoken all over the world by people. Okay, that is the actual form we need, right? People comes to the last part of the sentence as the object. So it is spoken by people. But by reading this sentence, English is spoken all over the world. It is clear that people all over the world speak English. So we need not especially include people in that sentence. Even if we omit or we exclude the use of the people, the word the people, the meaning can be understood. So this is what we mean by omission of the agent. In certain sentences, it is not necessary to use the subject. So these are the main concerns you'll have to, or the basics of active and passive voice. I hope it's clear. Do ask if you have any doubts. I hope it's clear. So thank you.